When Harry thought his time had finally come, he believed the spotlight was his at last. He'd spent weeks planning his big return, confident that this was his moment to shine. With a renewed sense of purpose, he was ready to reclaim his place in the public eye, imagining headlines praising his latest endeavors. But just as he was about to bask in the glory, Catherine entered the scene. With a simple, effortless appearance, she unknowingly stole the attention. Harry's carefully constructed plans quickly faded into the background. It wasn't his week anymore. It was hers, and she hadn't even tried. As he watched from the sidelines, it became clear that the game was never his to win. The world was captivated by her presence, and no matter how hard Harry tried, he couldn't compete with the quiet force that was Catherine. Who was truly in control of this narrative? It certainly wasn't Harry. Harry had always been on the lookout for the next big moment, the next chance to seize the spotlight. After months of planning and preparation, he believed that this week would be his. His schedule was filled with events, appearances, and press releases, all meant to catapult him back into the public's good graces. He was ready to reclaim his place at the center of attention, convinced that the world would soon remember why he mattered. But then Catherine entered the scene, and everything changed. Unlike Harry, she didn't seek out the media or chase after paparazzi for photos. She wasn't orchestrating dramatic moments or planning media stunts. No, she simply showed up. And just by being there, her quiet, effortless presence drew all eyes toward her. The headlines, the photographers, the public's attention. All of it shifted to her, leaving Harry standing in the background. He had done everything he could to capture the public's gaze, but in the end, it was Catherine who unintentionally took the stage. Harry, once certain that the week would be his, found himself once again in the shadows. Harry was on a roll, convinced that this week would finally be his moment to shine. With an ambitious agenda, he prepared a series of high-profile projects, expecting them to dominate the news cycle. He had lined up interviews, charity events, and media appearances, all aimed at reminding the world of his importance. He carefully curated every detail, imagining the press coverage that would follow. He was sure this time he would take the spotlight back. But just as his plans were unfolding, Catherine stepped into the picture. With no grandiose announcements or publicity stunts, she simply carried out her scheduled visits. She visited a couple of important locations, quietly engaging with the community, yet her presence was enough to turn the public's focus entirely toward her. The media, the photographers, the headlines, they were all centered on Catherine, as if nothing else mattered. Harry, who had been working tirelessly for days, suddenly found himself sidelined. He was stunned. How had this happened? Catherine hadn't even tried to steal the show, but there she was, effortlessly stealing the attention Harry had hoped for. It was as if, without effort, she had become the story. Harry refused to give up. Frustrated by how quickly his efforts were overshadowed, he doubled down, launching a series of new projects. He scheduled interviews, released new books, and revived old initiatives, hoping to capture the media's attention. He worked tirelessly, pushing for headlines that would once again place him at the forefront. But the harder he tried, the more his attempts seemed forced, as if he was trying too hard to reclaim the spotlight. Every new effort only seemed to draw more criticism. His actions, once seen as ambitious, now appeared desperate, like a man clinging to relevance in an increasingly indifferent world. Meanwhile, Catherine remained completely unfazed by the chaos around her. She didn't chase the limelight or engage in extravagant self-promotion. She simply went about her business, showing up to events, doing her job with grace and professionalism. And yet, somehow, it was her calm and effortless presence that continued to captivate the public. She didn't have to work hard for attention. It naturally followed her. As Harry's struggles intensified, it became clearer that his frantic attempts were only making him more invisible, while Catherine's quiet confidence made her shine brighter with each passing day. Catherine's next move was nothing extravagant. She didn't need a marketing campaign or media blitz. It was just another scheduled visit, another quiet day in her royal duties. Yet, as she spoke at the event, her calm and poised speech captivated everyone in the room. It wasn't a performance. It was simply her presence, her authenticity, that made the moment so impactful. Her message was genuine, and the public responded to it. Meanwhile, Harry was still trying to push himself into the spotlight. He arranged press events, hoping to draw attention, but his attempts felt increasingly hollow. Every word he spoke seemed calculated, every appearance staged. No matter how hard he tried, the focus kept slipping away from him, drifting instead to Catherine and her effortless charm. She wasn't competing for attention. It followed her naturally. There was no need for a show or flashy gestures. She simply showed up, did what was expected, and left a lasting impression. Harry, on the other hand, remained stuck in the cycle of trying to prove his worth. But no matter how loud he became, he couldn't match the quiet strength that Catherine exuded. The contrast was striking. One was chasing the spotlight, the other simply letting it find her. Unexpectedly, Catherine appeared at another major event, and once again, the world couldn't talk about anything else. Her arrival was calm, effortless, and yet it completely stole the show. There was no drama, no grand gestures, just Catherine, doing what she always did, fulfilling her duties with poise and grace. The press buzzed with excitement, and all eyes were on her. Harry once again found himself left in the shadows, watching from afar. The irony of the situation was undeniable. Catherine hadn't even tried to overshadow him. She wasn't aiming to steal the limelight. She simply showed up, did her job, and the spotlight naturally gravitated toward her. Harry, on the other hand, had been scrambling for attention, desperately trying to make himself the center of every conversation. But no matter how hard he worked, no matter how many events he attended or statements he made, he couldn't break free from the shadow Catherine cast. It was as if the more he pushed to stay relevant, the more irrelevant he became. And the most ironic part? Catherine didn't even need to do anything extraordinary. She just had to be herself. And that was enough. Harry finally realized that the race for attention was futile. No matter how hard he tried to push himself into the spotlight, it seemed pointless. He had been fighting for recognition, arranging countless events, releasing books, and making bold statements. But none of it seemed to matter. Meanwhile, Catherine's simplicity and authenticity shone brightly, effortlessly overshadowing his every move. It wasn't that she was doing anything extraordinary. She wasn't staging elaborate shows or making loud claims. She simply existed, and that was enough. With every step she took, her presence was recognized, her words valued, and the media gravitated toward her without her lifting a finger. It became increasingly clear to Harry that no matter how much effort he exerted, he could not compete with her natural ability to captivate people. Her calm, composed demeanor contrasted sharply with his desperate attempts, which only seemed more forced and disconnected. Catherine didn't need to try to be admired. She just was. And that realization hit Harry hard. His efforts to regain his former glory seemed empty now. She had mastered the art of just being herself, while he struggled to remind the world of who he once was. In that moment, it was impossible to ignore the truth. Catherine had already won.